is the Knitting with Anxiety podcast, season 1. I want to welcome you to episode 3. If you saw last week's episode, you saw my cat on my shoulder, and he is obviously doing a little bit better since he's not plastered to me right now. I'm still going to look at my cheat sheet though, because it's been a rough week, right? This episode is going to hopefully be a little bit shorter. I want to show you guys the progress I've made with Melt the Ice Hat and give you a halfway review of the pattern. And you can tell it's really late and I'm very tired. I have not slept well this week. To use anxiety, let me back that up. I'm having trouble with my vocabulary. I'm so tired. To use knitting as an anxiety and stress management tool, we begin this podcast a little differently than you might expect. And this is intentional because we want to plan for success. Failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So in episode 1, I talked about the need to wash your hands every time before you sit down to work with your whatever knitting project you're going to work on for that day or that specific point in your day. And so I just want to remind you that that's kind of a ritual that is a good habit to get into. It keeps the dirt and the oils from the creases of your fingers from getting embedded in the fibers of your knitting project. It will not come out. I direct you back to episode 1 if you want to hear the story on that. But it's also a calming and a cleansing thing that we can do just to kind of wash away some of the stress that we might be feeling that we're looking to address through the knitting, to help calm down, focus, let our brain relax, and regroup, right? Then in every episode, we center ourselves with intention, because when we're highly stressed, when we have anxiety so bad that you can put your hands here and just feel your nerves jumping, we need to make sure that negative energy does not get infused into our project. You can end up making more mistakes. You can do weird things with your stitches if you're not paying attention. You can end up wrapping the yarn around an extra time on your needles and stuff. And then it's frustrating to have to pick all that out. So we want to make sure we have good practices in place for when we start knitting each time. And we're going to do that when we're going to talk about it, because talking about anxiety can be anxiety inducing, right? So we're going to put our hand here, both of them if you have to, and we're going to take 4 breaths in a series of 4. We're going to inhale for 4, hold it for 4, and exhale it for 4. We're going to start that right now. you will notice I did that entirely through my mouth. I find that that helps me better than breathing in through my mouth and out through my nose. It may work better for you out your nose, right? But okay. So because being organized before you sit down to start is very foundational. Every time you sit down, and that's not to say you shouldn't sit down and go, I wonder which project should I knit on today, right? But I still, because Sorley has been really needy this week. I'm actually surprised he's not in here. I have made absolutely no headway on the cardigan at all. And I got one row of my Tam of Rascillion done. But I want to show you. Let me move my cheat sheet over. Okay. So I've showed this before. This is what I'm doing for the Knit the Ice hat. I have 2 skeins of fingering weight. I've got this burgundy and this tomatoey red, and you can see this is kind of how it looks like. This is the inside. And I'm almost done with the brim. It has to be 6 inches from start to finish. So far, I would have to say this has been a very fortuitous thing to take on, just because I literally have not had time to look up how to attach raglan sleeves when you're knitting from the bottom up, right? But I've also needed something, and I can actually knit on this while I'm holding the cat. Let me turn it inside out so you can see the right side and see how this coloring is going to look. And again, I picked yarn that I already had, right? These were left over from another project. So, if I remember correctly from this pattern, and I did buy it off of Ravelry, this is, I'm not sure this gets folded up, right? Let me get those out of the way. So I'm not sure that gets folded up, but you can see it's a deep brim. I may have to fold it up because I am a short person with a small head. My head is as big around it as a 9-year-old boy's. Don't let the fluffy hair fool you. I have a very small head. Standard size adult hats are just swimming on me, right? So I'm going to turn that back around. Some people knit with the right side out here. I prefer to look at the right side as I'm knitting. So that way I can see if one of the stitches has gotten manipulated the wrong way. I'm able to catch that and fix it immediately. Right? Now, I'm going to do another review of this hat. I am really trying to prioritize this one because February the 26th is Wear Your Red Hat Day. So I want to make sure I have that finished. The ends are all woven in and I've blocked it and everything. And it's ready to wear, right, on February the 26th. And today I'm filming this. That gives me a little less than 2 weeks, right? Now, how I kind of overlapped there on how Sorley was doing, because that's my point number 4. He is on Lasix, actually, and he's doing really well. hasn't fought me back too bad about taking it every day. So he must be connecting that is what is making him feel better. We go to the vet again on Monday, and uh, and they might give him less milligrams. I don't think he needs more. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'm in the Seattle area. Huge hockey fan. I have been for decades. I remember when the 1980 Lake Placid Olympics were on, and my mom said, "Oh, they're going to show this hockey game between the US and Russia." And we were like, they'll probably lose, but let's watch it anyway. I had never watched a hockey game in my entire life until then. That was pretty profound. If you've ever seen the Miracle movie, they actually use the audio from the actual broadcast because they didn't think the guy could recreate that emotion when there were only a couple of seconds left and they realized they were going to win, right? So fast forward to 4 years ago now, when Seattle finally got an NHL team again, because the Metropolitans were the first U.S. Professional hockey team to win the Stanley Cup. That was in 1917, right? So we went many, many years here in Seattle with no hockey team. And the first 2 years, I think, that they had the team, they had a program called The Depth. So you were like an inaugural member. You got first chance on tickets and stuff. And they don't do that program anymore. They've decided to expand into some other things. But you got a hat and a lapel pin and a couple other things, and you would get 10% off in the team store when you had that. And this is the actual hat. But the problem here is if my anxiety couldn't be any worse, I have developed an allergy to polyester and acrylic, which are petroleum products. I cannot wear this without my forehead itching insanely. I tried wearing this. We went and saw, oh my gosh, who were they playing? We went in December, like the first week of December, to a Kraken game, and it almost drove me nuts. So in restructuring my wardrobe, like this is cotton shirt, right? I found, and I'll put the link to the website in there. This is the Purl Soho hat that is essentially the exact same pattern as the other one. And I took the patch off and sewed it on here. And it's just on the one layer. If you want to know what kind of needles I used to do that, they were some specific steel needles that I ordered off of Temu. And so I you can see it's stitched down fairly closely there. But this is 2 strands of cashmere that I also ordered off of Temu. And this is so soft. It's almost bunny soft. It's just absolutely fantastic. I am so pleased. It's a little, this is more of a true navy, if you can see that. There's a little, you can kind of see the difference there. This is more of a true navy. This is more of a deep sea blue. So I really like, this pattern was really nice. And it really, being able to do this pattern and have it turn out this well with anxiety and everything else that, because it's been a crazy year already, right? I I really like this pattern, and it is free on their website, and I'll put a link for that in either in the description or in a pinned comment. So, so for the conclusion for this episode, number 3, we covered 4 points. We do that in every podcast. There's a reason for that. Our life is a circle of 4 things. There, you've got the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, the academic year, right? So, for number 1, we recapped making sure your knitting project stays clean from the get-go. Then we centered ourselves. So, we calm down and everything before we sit down to work on the project. And yes, I will be repeating those 2 things every single episode in season 1, because good practices have to be repeated in order for them to become ingrained good habits, right? This is a new podcast, and I can't assume any of you have seen any of the other episodes before. So yes, I am going to talk about those. Those are going to be the two points in every episode for season 1. Then I gave my halfway point review on the Melt the Ice hat pattern. I do hope to have that finished by next week. Can I do that? No, we'll see. For point 4, we took a look at how Sorley's medical emergency last week, because he's my emotional support pad to help me deal with my anxiety. How has that impacted my knitting this week? The Melt the Ice hat is the only thing I have knitted on at all this week, and not a whole lot of that either. But I did get enough done, just enough, right? And we looked at the Purl Soho hat that kind of got me started on doing this podcast anyway. So in the next podcast, we'll have an update on these projects. Hopefully I'll have the Melt the Ice hat done. We'll have to see. It might be another week past that. Then I want to cover about specific scenarios and why you should make knitting a more intentional part of your life, like taking your knitting with you to work and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about that in episode 2, but with everything that's gone on with Sorley, I keep having to push that one back. That's another thing. You can't beat yourself up on that when you have anxiety, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. It's like, how do you do this so that you feel better and you're calmed down and you're focused and you can actually get things done? But sometimes you have to put things off, because I'm looking at the clock here. I've got to go wash the dishes and then go straight to bed, because I've been up too late every night this last week. Just have not been able to calm down enough to go to sleep on time. And I just my inside balance just feels wrecked, right? Anyway, if you like this podcast, please consider subscribing, You'll get notified when the next one is posted. I am aiming to do all of these so that they're available on Saturday morning for you. And let me know in the comments, are there concerns that you have as far as knitting tips and tricks that would help you work with your anxiety? Do you have tips and tricks that you'd like to share? I'd be happy to talk about that in an episode. And hang on. If you have any questions about knitting, because I have been knitting since I was 7, let me know in the comments, because I'm happy to answer some questions too. I can do some illustrations. I know there's a lot of knitting podcasters who physically knit while they're talking. I don't think I can do that with my level of anxiety right now from the cat having a heart attack last week. So anyway, that is all I have for this time. And until next time, happy knitting. You've got this.